What's up, board game people? It's a new year and Old Critical is just now getting around to doing top 10 videos? What gives? Well, I like to let things marinate. Really, I play a ton of games over the holidays. I wanted to get some impressions about some of the games that I've had come in over the last year before I sat down and make a bunch of lists. Hopefully, this was worth the little extra wait. Before we start, I don't get any money from game companies for making my videos. It's thanks to my Patreon support and all of my viewers that I can remain completely independent and deliver you unfiltered, not paid for content. Thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. So today, we're diving right in. This is the first of a few I have planned, and I know there'll be more throughout the year. Today, let's look at my top 10 campaigns of this year. These are the campaigns that really grabbed my attention. They kept me guessing, or they had a wonderful active community chatting in the comments and keeping the party alive down to the last seconds. I like campaigns that show me something new and keep me updated on the progress of the campaign without having to spoil the entire game. I also love chatting in the comments. I have less and less time to do that these days, but I still read through them when there's good discourse about. So these are in a very loose top 10 order. You could move most of these around by a spot or two and I'd still feel pretty comfortable with the order. But this is about where I think they should land. So first up, at number 10. I feel almost weird having this one in the top 10. It beat out 5 other games on my shortlist, but there's something about it that still calls to me. Anasteer from Mythic Games gets the number 10 spot. Anasteer has the chance to offer something truly different that I haven't seen done well in a game yet. Fast-paced hack-and-slash combat. I love hack-and-slash video games, and they were a gateway to so many other genres for me. They will always have a special place in my heart, but they don't really lend themselves to easy conversion to board games, so if Mythic can pull it off, they will have something special on their hands to rebuild with. I'm sure you know my opinions of Mythic's business practices and communication style, but it is an innovative studio able to deliver quality games, minis, and experiences, and they still have my respect for that. Anasteer was a planned project. They knew what they wanted to release, and I don't think they got most of it into the Kickstarter. It didn't perform as well as they wanted, but I think if it releases and wows, it has the potential to be a fantastic flagship project to rebuild their company with. Number 9 could have easily been higher on this list. Tebaru, The Bad Karmas, and The Curse of the Zodiacs, which is still a mouthful, by the way. It hopes to give us a level of digital interactivity we haven't seen in a board game yet, while still keeping most of the focus on the game board and not your computer or device. This will be a hard line to toe, but I have high hopes for the system and their flagship game as well. I like how the system's allowed them to be very flexible throughout the development of the game, and I hope it truly shows off the system when it ships to backers. This is more than just a single game though. Launching soon, we'll be seeing Vampire Masquerade Milan Uprising coming to the Tebaru system and hoping to show off the engine's prowess for a more narrative game. Possibilities are endless, and I might be an optimist, but I can't wait to try the game and system for myself. Number 8 is another good one that probably deserves to be higher, but it's a tight race up here. Uprising Titans of the First Age easily makes it into the top 10 for the year. I love that Uprising started this campaign early with pre-campaign missions to grab more followers. There was voting, community design tiles, and more. It was a great way to bring people in and engage the community. I was able to slip in and get an all-in pledge from the first run, and the gentleman handling the orders was excellent. He found me a copy, even late in the day, and when it arrived, it came with extras I wasn't expecting. Of course, then there's the amazing quality of the components. They've never really stopped trying to improve, and it shows. This game is beautiful. The premise could have easily been done in drab, old-style fashion, but they brought color to the table, and they mixed it with modern graphic design. The illustrated art is to die for as well. Just so much eye candy here. Number 7 is a big one. Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin was on my list from the day they announced it. I love that everyone had a chance to grab everything from the first campaign at a reasonable price. I'm looking forward to playing through the initial campaign with the new rule sets and modes in effect. I feel like they're really listening to the fans and they brought some great changes to the table. The new miniatures look amazing, and I want so badly to see how they look in plastic. They added a ton of content to a game that so many already love. I know Tainted Grail is pretty polarizing, but for me, I like the grim, dark, filthy level of survival and the impact of the campaigns. There's so much more to explore in the Tainted Grail universe. I feel like they haven't let us down one bit with the Kings of Ruin. For me, they kept the price just about right, too. Being a returning backer, I was able to get everything I wanted for far less than most of my big pledges. Number 6 was a huge surprise for me. Heroes of Might and Magic 3 was going to be a nostalgia back for me. I knew I wanted it, but what I had seen leading up to the launch sort of had me on the edge. I actually didn't back initially. It was in a crowded month and I needed the cash elsewhere. But I kept coming back and seeing more and more value being added at such a great price for the all-in. The game itself looks to have matured from the early copies seen at conventions, and the more I saw, the more I knew I couldn't pass it up. Then, them expanding the battle board by another lane after the campaign made me feel just that much more sure about my pledge. It created a wonderful homage to the video game, hits the nostalgia, and looks to be a great game to top it off. This is one I'm excited to get to my table. Number 5. This probably isn't on a lot of people's top 5s, but I was so excited to get a chance to get a copy of Unsettled. I saw the game on the shelf at my friend's place, and ever since the game's been calling to me. I contacted Orange Nebula looking for a copy. While they were out, they were kind enough to let me know that there would be a reprint and expansion coming up very soon, and that I could get everything there. The price was a bit up there, but there's a ton of game here. I like tough survival games, both digital and on the tabletop, and it scratches that itch very well. It's a bit of a puzzle that you have to work through, and for some it may be frustrating to no end. For me, it's a welcome challenge. There's also something about a white box with a splash of color that really gets me. Number 4. This is a great game that I'm extremely anxious to get a look at. Silver Coin: Age of Monster Hunters rides the line of almost being a Witcher game, but it also sets itself just far enough apart that it looks fresh and exciting. I love the fact that preparation counts for the game. Each monster you hunt has different strengths and weaknesses, and if you can puzzle them out, you get a bit of a bonus going into the battle. I love table hogs too. I have a large table and I love to see it full of game. I know not everyone does, but for me, having a sprawling game out on the table just screams game night. The seasons coming into play really adds a whole new element to the gameplay. Then to top it off, that huge mat, which sadly will be a little bit smaller than the demo mats, looks amazing and it seems to organize the game well. This is a game that's going to live on my table for a while once it's here. Alright, so let's break into the top 3. There were a lot of great campaigns out there, and it was next to impossible to boil it all down to 10, much less the top 3. It gets pretty personal from here on out. I'm sure many people's top 3s will be vastly different from mine. Number 3 earned its spot for many reasons. Earth Under Siege Flashpoint is a sci-fi stealth action game. I mean, do I even need to go on? It's being put out by a first-time publisher who's a great guy, and though the project has seen its share of rocky patches, I believe they've navigated them extremely well, and that the game we will receive will be a total hit. Stealth is hard to do in board games. Most of the time it feels gimmicky or forced. The stealth system here looks great, and from those who have played it, I've been assured that it's excellent. I love the thought that they put into the character development. Each character feels like they have a place on your squad, and they feel real. The minis for the game look great and are unique. The price is great, and they kept to 2 boxes instead of adding expansion after expansion. I also love the Extinction Pledge with all of the deluxifications. Plus, I've always wanted to have a miniature Stargate. Number 2. This is another game that once I heard about it, I wanted it. No, I needed it. I nearly paid $200 shipping to get a copy, but thankfully the better sense kicked in. Dungeon Universalis is a spectacular RPG in a box that fills the hole that a lack of a D&D group has left in my tiny little heart. It's not for everyone, but it has me sold. There's so much content that I don't know if I'll ever get through all of it, but I plan to have a hell of a time trying. The comment section on this campaign was one of the best I watched all year. The game has an amazing community that showed up for the campaign in droves. They also show up in all kinds of places online, with content, miniature lists, even self-made applications. The creators are extremely hardworking, and watching the project unfold at the pace it has been a pleasure to watch. The ability to play without a GM or dark player is the singular thing that grabbed me and pulled me in first. Once I was on board, the depth and the breadth of the game really hooked me for sure. So, we're down to number 1. I don't think this will be much of a surprise for many. Kingdoms Forlorn solidly took number 1 on this list, especially once I started playing ATO. I was waffling a bit, but ATO sealed it. Kingdoms Forlorn takes the basic game systems and exploration of ATO to a new level, and it brings the focus in closer on the characters. Finding kingdom secrets is going to be a hell of a quest, and finding that mysterious storyline in the midst of everything else going on really reminds me of the best parts of Westworld. When they introduced Jura, the Citadel of the Saints, I just about lost control of my excitement. I absolutely love having a central point that my characters return to and improve. This doesn't sound like your typical town phase either. You earn the Citadel, and that only leads you to a fight to get in the door. Jura sounds like it holds many mysteries itself, and there's likely a thread of that overarching storyline that I'm so excited about. The miniatures here are going to be a treat, far outnumber ATO. Finally, the knights themselves exude their character, and they seem so different and independent that it's going to be an interesting adventure combining any number of them. For me, Kingdoms Forlorn takes the crown this year. Awesome campaign, awesome game, awesome minis, and a solid company behind it. I feel it would be disingenuous not to include those that got bumped from the shortlist here. So my honorable mentions would go to Malia, Land of Legends, The Dark Quarter, Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies, and finally, Warcrow Adventures. So what do you all think? What do you agree with or not agree with? Is there a top 10 or a top 5 list you'd like to see me do? Let me know in the comments. Next up is our news video for the week, and next week we have a ton of videos continuing to roll out, including the month in review. Thanks to everyone watching and commenting. Please consider subscribing to help our little channel grow and reach more gamers. If you want to join in on the conversation, check out our Discord and Patreon linked in the comments. Have a great weekend, and play something challenging.